The movie opens with a man running through a forest in Western Ireland. He's searching for help for his wife, but after some time, he realizes he's ended up back where he started. To his shock, 7 hours have passed. As he tries to climb a tree, a branch breaks, causing him to fall and injure himself. Pulling out a knife for protection, he hears a chittering sound and sees a creature emerge from the fog. Before he can react, the creature drags him away. The story then shifts to Mina, an American immigrant working at a pet shop in Galway, Ireland. Her boss shows her a golden Conna parrot and asks her to deliver it to a zoo in Belfast the next day. That night, she takes the parrot home and mentions that her mother died 15 years ago that day. Jokingly, she tells the parrot, "Try not to die." And the parrot repeats her words. The following day, Mina drives to Belfast, receiving a voice message from her twin sister, Lucy, who talks about their mother's memorial service and expresses concern for Mina. We learn that Mina is estranged from her sister. While driving through a forest, Mina's phone malfunctions, her car radio shuts off, and eventually, her car stops. When she steps out to check, the parrot eerily repeats, "Try not to die." She notices a sign in the distance that reads, "No point of return." Thinking someone's nearby, Mina grabs her bag and pet, calls for help, but gets no response. But when she turns around, the car has disappeared. Confused, she searches for the car and, resigned to her situation, names the parrot Darwin, joking that if they're going to die together, he might as well have a name. Suddenly, a flock of bats flies toward her, and as she scrambles up, the ground rumbles, accompanied by a terrifying screeching sound. Mina spots an old woman, who immediately starts running upon seeing her. Desperate, Mina follows the woman, who warns her to run for her life. With terrifying screeches filling the air, Mina sprints after her, eventually diving into a bunker that the woman quickly locks behind them. The woman introduces herself as Madeline, and the others as Sierra and Daniel, who are also trapped in the forest. Madeline explains that the place they are in is called the Coop and warns Mina about the Watchers, who come out every night. She reassures Mina that the Watchers cannot enter the coop but will watch them until sunrise. The next morning, Mina decides to leave, despite Sierra and Daniel's attempts to stop her. Madeline tells them to let her go. As Mina searches for a way out, she hears her sister Lucy's voice asking, "Why did you do that?" Terrified, she tries to flee but realizes she's trapped. Later, Madeline tells her that everyone who has tried to escape has failed. She explains that the forest causes hallucinations and that there are landmarks placed in a nearly perfect circle around the forest. Staying within this boundary might allow them to return by nightfall, but crossing it means no turning back. When Mina asks who built the landmarks, Madeline responds, "The professor." The next day, Sierra tells Mina about her husband, John, who entered the forest 6 days ago and hasn't returned. When Mina asks what the Watchers want, Sierra says they're not sure, but Madeline believes that just seeing a Watcher can drive someone mad. Sierra takes Mina to a burrow, warning her not to get too close. She explains that the burrows are connected by underground tunnels where the Watchers hide during the day. When Mina asks how long she's been there, Sierra replies, "Nearly 5 months." Later, they give Mina a set of rules: don't turn your back to the mirror, don't open the door after dark, don't go near the burrows, and always stay in the light. Madeline explains that they're in the Watchers' territory and that the Watchers let them live as long as they follow these rules. That night, Mina, curious and desperate, tries to communicate with the Watchers by tapping on the window. However, a terrifying growl makes her jump back in fear. Moments later, the Watchers begin thumping on the window, and Madeline advises Mina to stay still and let them see her. The next day, Daniel tells Mina that Madeline used to teach at a university, and has been in the forest longer than anyone else. Mina hears her sister Lucy's laughter again but decides to ignore it. When she asks Daniel how long he's been there, he replies, "Around 8 months." Despite his warnings, Mina convinces Daniel to help her explore a burrow. Inside, she finds a 1992 newspaper, a video camera, and a bicycle, which she sends up to Daniel. As Mina attempts to climb out of the burrow, one of the Watchers suddenly appears. The creature tries to approach her, but its hand gets burned as it reaches out. At that moment, Daniel throws down a rope, allowing her to escape just in time. Back at the coop, Madeline questions them about where they found the items Mina brought back. Mina explains they found them near Daniel's spot and suggests using the bicycle as a possible means to find a way out of the forest. Suddenly, Daniel calls them inside urgently. Before going in, Madeline stops Mina, sensing her unease, and asks if something frightened her. Mina hesitates but denies it. Once inside, Daniel reveals something unexpected. Electronics seem to work in the coop, leading him to theorize that the professor who built the landmarks might have created some sort of power source. He connects the video camera to the TV, proposing that if they set it up outside tonight, they might finally get a glimpse of the Watchers. That evening, they prepare for the Watchers' arrival, with Madeline advising them to act as if everything is normal. As they wait, there's a sudden attempt to open the door, and they spot a figure standing outside. Madeline immediately warns that it's a trick by the Watchers. She then turns to Mina, pressing her to be honest about whether she broke any of the rules. Just then, the figure outside begins coughing, and Sierra recognizes the voice as that of her husband, John. Desperate, she insists on opening the door, but Madeline stands firm, reminding them of the rule: no one opens the door after sunset. Madeline advises Sierra to test the figure by asking something only John would know. Sierra, still skeptical, asks what book she was reading before he disappeared. John, however, responds uncertainly, saying he doesn't know. Growing more suspicious, Sierra then asks him to pick up the camera and show his face to prove he's alone. John complies, revealing his face on the screen, but just as quickly, he is violently dragged away. To their horror, a Watcher then appears on the camera, staring directly into it before attacking and destroying it. Panic sets in as the Watchers begin assaulting the glass windows of the coop, trying to break in. Madeline warns that if the glass shatters, it will be the end for them. She orders everyone to stay behind her as the Watchers intensify their assault. After what feels like an eternity, the Watchers suddenly retreat, leaving the group shaken but safe for the moment. The next morning, Madeline angrily throws the bicycle into the burrow, declaring they will have to find another way out. In a flashback, we see a younger Mina and her sister Lucy on a drive with their mother. Their mother asks Mina to roll up the window, but when she doesn't comply, her mother does it for her, expressing frustration at Mina's defiance. When Mina rebelliously opens the window again, her fingers get caught as her mother closes it once more, causing a distraction that leads to a car accident. As the seasons change and winter arrives, the days grow shorter, and the situation inside the coop becomes more desperate. Despite the worsening conditions, Mina remains determined to find a way out. One day, she returns to the coop to find Daniel and Madeline arguing fiercely. Unable to stand the sound of their fighting, she seeks out Sierra, only to realize she has left the co-op fearing the worst. Mina rushes outside to search for her and finds her standing near a burrow. Sierra, convinced that John was there that night, insists that she should be with him. Mina pleads with her to reconsider, but before she can say more, they hear Daniel scream in the distance. Rushing back, they find Daniel has bound Madeline's hands. When Sierra demands to know what he's doing, Daniel coldly replies, "Our rules now," before fleeing into the forest. Sierra follows him, leaving Mina to untie Madeline. The two women race back to the coop, only to find Daniel refusing to open the door. As Mina notices a flock of bats flying overhead, Sierra confronts Daniel, asking why he did it. He responds bitterly that something had to change, no matter the cost. With the Watchers closing in, Madeline takes Mina to hide under a rotting tree, hoping the decaying wood will mask their scent. As they lie in wait, something wet drips onto Mina, and they realize with horror that a Watcher is standing directly above them. The creature soon leaves and rushes toward the coop, where Daniel and Sierra are still inside. From their hiding spot, Mina and Madeline watch helplessly as the Watcher lets out a bone-chilling shriek, summoning others to the scene. Within moments, a horde of Watchers assembles in front of the coop, ready to attack. Inside, Daniel defiantly declares that Mina and Madeline aren't there with them, causing the Watchers to scatter in search of their prey. Seizing the opportunity, Mina and Madeline rush back to the coop and beg Daniel to open the door. In a moment of vulnerability, Mina confides in him about her guilt over her mother's death and her complicated relationship with her sister Lucy. She admits she doesn't consider herself a good person but believes Daniel is, warning him that the consequences of his actions will haunt him for the rest of his life. Moved by her words, Daniel relents and opens the door, allowing them to quickly enter and lock it behind them. Once inside, Madeline gathers everyone in front of a large mirror. She reveals that, unlike the others, she came to this place willingly, knowing the dangers that lurked within. However, it wasn't until the night she first saw one of the watchers that she fully grasped the peril they were in. She recounts how, as the sun set, she hurried back to the coop, only to encounter a distorted version of herself among the trees. Madeline explains that the Watchers are an ancient species known by many names: changelings, fairies, the winged people, and that they observe humans, studying them in an attempt to mimic their form and behavior. Suddenly, a loud bang on the door interrupts her story, followed by the sound of the Watchers surrounding the coop and mimicking their voices. Madeline and the others scramble to secure the entry points, but just as the Watchers begin to break in, Sierra discovers a secret door hidden beneath a carpet. With no time to spare, they manage to open it and rush into the basement just as the Watchers breach the coop. In the basement, they find a well-stocked facility with enough supplies to last for years. Among the supplies, Mina discovers a computer and upon booting it up, they find a series of video diaries from 2009 recorded by Professor Rory Kimlarton, the mysterious figure behind the landmarks and the co-op. As they dig deeper into Professor Rory Kimlarton's video diary, the group uncovers unsettling details about his research on the Watchers. Rory confesses that he hired 13 laborers each day to construct the underground facility. At the end of the workday, he would encourage the workers to eat supper outside, while he discreetly retreated into the bunker, listening as the Watchers claimed their lives. He admits that the facility was built at the cost of innocent lives, all in the name of knowledge, or so he tries to justify. In one of the recordings, Rory describes an encounter with a unique Watcher that took the form of a little girl with red hair. This creature was unlike the others; it traveled alone, displaying a curious and innocent demeanor. Rory speculates that with the ability to duplicate life, one could potentially cheat death. He then reveals the creature on camera, showing that he had kept it captive. Mina plays the final video, where Rory, after 300 days in isolation, reveals that he has been stripped of his humanity. The creature he had grown attached to is waiting for him upstairs, and he has resolved to kill it before taking his own life. He also discloses the location of a boat hidden where the birds leave the woods, advising anyone who finds the video to escape using the boat, follow the birds, go to his university office, and destroy all his research, as some knowledge is too dangerous to keep. The video ends with the sound of 2 gunshots. The next day, the group sets out to escape the forest. Madeline warns them that the forest will try to trap them, so they must remain vigilant and distinguish reality from illusions. Mina releases Darwin, the parrot, hoping they can follow him to safety. As they journey on, they stumble upon a mysterious site that Madeline identifies as the place where fairies were once imprisoned. She explains that these beings once lived among humans, serving as a bridge between nature and mankind. However, over time, their powers began to frighten humans, leading to a war that ended with the Fae being banished to a tomb deep underground, sealed by a great door that prevented their return. For centuries, they clawed their way toward the surface, only to find they had lost their wings and magic, condemning them to remain in the forest forever. The group presses on, but as night falls, it begins to rain. Madeline reassures them that they are nearing their destination, but Mina suddenly notices a flock of bats flying toward them, a sign that the Watchers are on the prowl. The Watchers quickly close in, but the group manages to reach the river and sprints toward the boat. As the group approaches the boat, Daniel suddenly hears John's voice calling his name, pleading for help. While the others board the boat, Sierra realizes Daniel is missing. To their horror, they see him emerging from the forest, dragging what appears to be John. Sierra tries to warn him that it's not really John, but before she can, the Watcher posing as John kills Daniel by slitting his throat. As they flee, more Watchers appear, but Madeline reassures Mina that the Watchers cannot leave the forest. The scene cuts as the Watcher transforms into Daniel, its screech echoing through the woods. The next morning, Mina wakes to find Darwin, their parrot, has returned. The group makes it back to their homes, and a flashback reveals that Lucy was severely injured in the car accident that killed their mother. The following day, Mina visits the university and discovers a tape in Rory's office. On the tape, Rory explains that life with the fairies was a golden age for humanity. Fairies lived among humans as guardians, friends, and even mates. The children born from these unions, known as half-bloods, possessed the ability to transform and replicate the deceased. However, when humans cursed and banished the fairies, their fate became uncertain. While history claims the half-bloods went extinct, Rory suggests otherwise. Mina finds photographs that shock her, revealing that Madeline was Rory's wife, who passed away from lung cancer in 2001. Mina speculates that Rory's captive watcher was his attempt to recreate a new Madeline. Mina visits Sierra and shares the photographs, suggesting that Madeline is a watcher. Sierra questions if watchers can walk in sunlight, and Mina points out that Madeline might be different from the others. While waiting for Madeline to arrive, Mina expresses deep concern that they've unleashed a terrible force that now must be stopped. As she moves toward the sink, she's startled to notice cockroaches crawling across the surface, a chilling reminder of something more sinister at play. Suddenly, the sound of an approaching vehicle draws her attention, and to her shock, she sees Sierra stepping out. But as the real Sierra enters the house, Mina has a horrifying realization. The Sierra with her isn't Sierra at all but Madeline in disguise. Mina confronts Madeline, who doesn't deny it. Instead, she confesses that she's there for a darker purpose, to become Mina herself. In a tense moment, Madeline transforms into John and swiftly incapacitates the real Sierra, knocking her to the ground. She then grabs hold of Mina, explaining that the Watchers, to whom she belongs, were once revered almost as gods. But humanity, in its fear and ignorance, drove them underground, forcing them to live and suffer in squalor, much like the insects Mina just saw. As the tension builds, Madeline shifts again, this time into Daniel, and accuses Mina of being driven by hatred and jealousy. Now that Mina knows the truth, Madeline declares she cannot be trusted. Mina desperately promises to keep Madeline's secret, but Madeline, recalling the countless times humans have broken their promises, remains doubtful. Mina tries to appeal to Madeline's emotions, arguing that their time together in the coop made them like a family. But Madeline reveals a more sinister truth: she had been studying them all along, using their interactions for her own purposes. With a bitter tone, she thanks Mina, acknowledging that without her, she might have remained trapped in the forest forever. Stepping outside, Madeline reveals that she has endured unimaginable suffering at the hands of the other Watchers. She reveals her true name, enigmatic, which means the Daywalker. She recounts how she once believed the professor would be her savior, helping her escape her torment. But when he turned on her, attempting to end her life, she had no choice but to defend herself. As Madeline transforms into Rory, she confronts Mina once more. Mina, in a panic, rushes to find Sierra, only to be horrified when Madeline morphs into Mina herself. With cold determination, Madeline declares that it's time to end things, vowing to take over Mina's life so seamlessly that no one will notice the difference. Desperate, Mina pleads with Madeline, revealing that Rory never explained why she alone could walk in daylight and leave the forest when the other Watchers couldn't. This question halts Madeline's assault. Mina mentions a recording she found at the university, which suggested that Madeline might be part human. Mina appeals to Madeline's humanity, reminding her that being human isn't just about hatred and jealousy. It also encompasses love, forgiveness, and hope. Mina then poses a question that gives Madeline pause: what if there are others like her out there? What if she could find them? In response, Madeline regains her wings and, with a flicker of doubt and hope, flies out of the window. Mina, not willing to let her go just yet, follows her outside. Before disappearing into the forest, Madeline expresses a fragile hope that Mina is right about her. Then, with a powerful beat of her wings, she soars away into the forest. The next day, Lucy visits Mina, who recounts the harrowing events, now believing that Madeline continues to watch over her, lurking in different forms. As they talk, Lucy's boys eagerly show Mina a drawing of her with Darwin. At that moment, Darwin himself flies in and perches on the windowsill, his presence offering a strange comfort. Outside, a girl with striking red hair, likely Madeline, stands silently, watching Mina from a distance.